Hey, what's up? I'm Justin. Welcome to 65 Drums. If you want to keep on top of everything electronic drum related, remember to hit that subscribe and bell icon so you don't miss any of the new videos. So this is my first impressions video of the Simmons SD2000. I could have made a video on this like 3 months ago, but I kept playing this one drum set that was just broken. First of all, the kick drum was broken, so they had to replace that. They replaced that, but then the module was messed up. They had put the ride cymbal where the crash cymbal is, and then they'd put the snare drum where the floor tom was supposed to be, so the kit was messed up. I didn't want to make a first impressions video based on a messed up drum set, so I finally got to play a version of this that actually works. Here are my overall thoughts. As a non-owner, someone that hasn't played this for a month, I've played it a few times though, and I got an overall feel for whether or not I think this drum set's worth buying. Just a personal opinion. I want to hear your thoughts. If you own this drum set or if you've played it, let me know down in the comments below. And if you want to see playing examples of this, I've listed a whole ton of great playing example videos, kit example videos in the description below as well. You know, kit example videos lie though. That's why videos like this need to exist alongside of them, because I found out when doing this channel that I can make any electronic drum set look amazing for the price. But when you actually play it, the truth is revealed. So this is overall thoughts on whether or not it's actually worth buying. So before we go any farther, I need to address the elephant in the room. This kit has an incredibly unique look to it. And as far as I can tell, there are 3 different kinds of people that have wildly different opinions on the way the drum set looks. Camp A, B, and C. Camp A thinks that this drum set looks incredibly stupid. I can't be seen in public with this. Why would Simmons do this? They're trying too hard. Camp number 2, they're getting a hit of nostalgia. They're like, yeah, it kind of harkens back to the 80s, but it has like this modern twist on it, and I like it. It's like a unique combination of everything. I'm still getting mesh pads. We're not getting rubber pads, so I'm happy with the design choice. That's camp number 2. And then camp 3, Camp C actually thinks that Simmons didn't go far enough. These are the hardcore 80s guys that live and die the old Simmons pads. And I am in camp number 1. I don't like the look of this drum set. And as far as I can tell, the majority of drummers out there aren't really a fan of the design choice with this drum set. It's weird in a bunch of different ways. It's not just weird in the way it looks, it also affects how it plays. There are 2 different versions here. You have the one that I played, which is the $1,300 version. You get, the 3 toms, 1 crash, 1 ride. There's also another version of this drum set that's a little bit more expensive, and you get an extra floor tom and an extra crash cymbal. In this first impressions video, I'm focusing on the 5-piece version, the one that costs $1,300. So here are the sizes for that drum set right here. You got an 11-inch snare, 9-inch toms, 12-inch set of hi-hats, 13-inch crash cymbal, and 15-inch ride cymbal. Those sizes are competitive with the Alesis version, which is the Alesis DM10 MK2 Pro, I believe that's the name of it. So the size of that drum set, it's a little bit larger, and also you get an extra crash cymbal, you get an extra tom as well. So that does have advantage size-wise, but this is pretty competitive overall. And then of course, both this version and the Alesis version, these are a lot larger than what Yamaha and Roland have in this price category as well, like the Roland TD11 KV, because that's in the same price bracket. So I like the sizes. It's a very large electronic drum set. On the same token, I hate the sizes because they chose 11 inches and 9 inches. Those are very weird drum head sizes. And so your list of options when you want to replace these mesh heads, the list of companies that have mesh heads in those sizes will be a little bit smaller. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's impossible to find an 11-inch mesh head, but it's going to be a little bit harder to find those sizes online. I forgot to talk about the kick drum. It's 9 inches across as well. It looks just like one of the tom pads, except that it's mounted and it's a kick drum. Now there's good news and bad news about that pad. The good news is it's not moving anywhere. Using a single kick drum pedal, I had no issues with it scooting around the floor. The bad news is it did rock back and forth like this. It wasn't scooting backwards, but the pad you were hitting, it did rock a little bit. Maybe I just needed to tighten something down with a drum key or something. Maybe that would have fixed the issue. But I just wanted to mention it. It doesn't really affect the feel of the drum. It just, kind of annoying to look at. All right, so talking about the cymbals, are they fun to play on? The cymbals, they are very unique and very weird. First thing I noticed was obviously there's no bell zone. I mean, there is a bell zone. It's just this giant flat surface. So it's just weird to play on. It takes a while to get used to playing on a ride cymbal that has a bell zone, but it's just a giant flat surface. Thinking back about this drum set, the cymbals are probably my least favorite thing about this entire drum set. I don't think that they're gonna break or anything. They feel hard as a rock, and that's the problem. The rubber material is way too hard. It doesn't sway enough. So as you hit it, there's supposed to be a natural rocking motion, but instead it just sort of doesn't really budge very much. You can move it up and down and stuff. It's sort of like in a socket on the drum rack, but it just doesn't move naturally. So the fact that I'm playing cymbals on a $1,300 drum set that literally have holes on the back of it, and there's no bell bump on the cymbal, and the fact that they're not moving very much, it just makes the experience of playing this drum set very, very strange. And this is doubly so when you're playing the hi-hat, when you're trying to crash into the hi-hat pad and it doesn't like move very much. You're trying to, when you crash into hi-hats, they're moving all over the place when it's on an acoustic drum set or, a regular electronics hi-hat cymbal. It's, moves up and down a lot. With this cymbal, it doesn't move very much. There might be an adjustment with a drum key that you can make to make them, move all over the place, but I doubt it will have the natural rocking motion of an acoustic cymbal or just your regular, average, everyday drum set electronic cymbal. So talking about the drum rack for a second, I really, really like it. It's actually one of my favorite features of this entire drum set. It's incredibly well made. I will say I'm not a fan of the color. I know Simmons Blue is the official brand color and that's why they went with it, but it would have improved the look of this entire drum set if it was a black drum rack or an all chrome drum rack, just saying. But as far as the construction of the drum rack, I love all the ball clamps. This thing is incredibly sturdy. There's cymbal boom arms everywhere. There's an empty spot where you can put an extra floor tom. There's an empty spot where you can put an extra cymbal boom arm. So there's ways to expand this. I think the drum rack is incredibly well made and it's easy to position everything. So let's move over to the drum module. There's a lot of interesting ideas that you can see inside of the design of this drum module. And there's also a drumstick holder on the front of it. This actually comes in really handy because you don't need a stick drum bag. You just put them right there and they stay. I can't tell you how many times I've put my drumsticks on my snare, they roll off, I have to dig around underneath my drum set to try to get at them. Also, I like how they incorporated the EQ, the reverb, some muffling, and all kinds of other things into sound banks on the drum fader selection. So you press a button and now you're controlling the kick drum volume. You press a button and now you're tuning the kick drum. You press a button, you're turning up the hi-hat volume. You press a button and now you're actually turning up the highs or the lows. There's a lot of cool ideas here. So here I am sitting here playing the drum set and I kind of am liking the kit I'm playing, but I want to have the snare drum a little bit higher. They made it so easy to tune the drum set that I just turn up the fader and bam, I've tuned up the snare just a little bit. So I'm playing along, I like the way the snare sounds, but the kick drum just sounds a little bit too high pitched. So I turn down the slider and I detune the kick drum a little bit. Playing along, then the snare drum sounds a little too deep. And then I realized that tuning slider actually just tunes the entire drum set all at once. That really doesn't make any sense. If I want to tune the drums, I want to tune them individually. I believe you can also do that inside of the drum module separately, but why have a universal tuning knob for the entire drum set? Why would I want to tune up my ride cymbal and my kick drum and my snare all at the same time? What are the odds that I want all of them to be slightly higher pitched? But anyway, going back to the faders, I do like the whole idea, the whole concept of being able to tune your drums and EQ your drums and turn the volume up and down with the same row of faders, just pressing a multi-function key to switch between different banks. I just wish that there were more faders in a row so I could turn up the volume of the entire kit, all the different elements, and not have a bank for one half of the different drums and then a bank for the other half of the drums and then a bank for effects. I just wish there were more faders overall to really take advantage of that idea. If you look at the front of the drum module, you'll see that it's using a color screen. This might not seem like an amazing thing, but it's like one of the first electronic drum sets with a color screen. Literally makes no sense why that wasn't a thing, but just until the other year, there were no electronic drum sets with color screens. And even though the resolution on the screen is pretty bad, like you can almost count the pixels on it, it's not like an amazing HD display or anything. I like that there's a color screen on it. They'll actually have a picture, a cheesy photo of every single drum set, every single electronic sound kit that you're going through, so you have an idea, a visual representation of what you're looking at. As far as the interface goes, it's pretty easy to get around. My main complaints are with the sounds. The caliber of sounds just isn't on a level with the competition, unfortunately. Like some of the kits, you can cobble together different sounds that are pretty good. One glaring weakness though, is that they don't have a good selection of open hi-hat sounds. Like if you want to just crash into the hi-hats for a rock groove, there's not a ton of really good sounding open hi-hat sounds. And sometimes if you play really fast, you'll notice that some of the sustain of previous hits gets cut out, and it's just really weird. It's like the drum module isn't powerful enough for your playing sometimes. And I'm not even some sort of speed demon, but every once in a while, if I'd hit the drum at a certain way and play fast enough, I'd notice some of the sounds would cut out as I'm playing them, making room for the next note. and there's machine gunning inside of this drum module. So I'm not a big fan of the sounds. I wouldn't buy it to play with the sounds. I would buy it to use it with drum software. That's just my thinking. I will say it does have a nice selection of world percussion sounds. So there's a lot of great Native American drum sounds, Asian drum sounds, African drum sounds. There's a whole great selection of world percussion sounds in here. Also, they didn't skimp out on the electronic sounds. You know, this is Simmons, so they pulled all kinds of great sounds from previous drum modules that they had in the 80s and the 90s and stuff. So that's all I really want to say about the drum module. There's a couple of last things I want to mention about the pads because I forgot to mention this. First thing I want to mention is the snare drum pad. It actually has 2 separate rim zones. This is actually pretty freaking awesome. I've only seen this happen on Yamaha pads, and I've never seen it on any mesh pads at all. So this is the first time I've seen it happen like this. This drum pad, this snare pad, actually has 2 rim zones. One of the rim zones, let's say rim zone 1, is for rim shot sounds. And then rim zone 2 is just for cross stick sounds. This is pretty sweet because in most Roland modules and stuff, you have to press a cross stick button on the drum module itself. It's really stupid, unintuitive. However, some of the corners of all these different drum pads, it's incredibly thick. The rims are kind of annoying. They don't have a thin drum rim like Roland pads or Alesis pads. So that kind of bothers me. I'm not really a big fan of the humongous rim design. If you want to see a pad teardown video and see what's inside of the pads themselves, the guts of them, they're actually pretty well made. I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. So wrapping up the video, if I had $1,300 and I had to buy an electronic drum set tonight, would I buy this kit? Probably not. There's too many good options from other companies out there, so I wouldn't really legitimately look at this one as something I would buy. Because, you know, this is Simmons actually trying to make an electronic drum set for the first time in a decade. They put a lot of effort into this, and it's way better than other options that they've made in the past. But at the same time, it's like their first baby step in a very long time. So the Simmons SD4000 will be something everyone should go buy. This one is a step in the right direction, but I personally just didn't like it. I wasn't a big fan of this drum set. There are cool things about it, but not enough for me to spend $1,300 on this set when there are so many different options from so many other good companies out there. All I can say is that I'm not a fan of the way the cymbals feel. I'm not a fan of the sounds, and I'm not a fan of the overall look. Let me know what you guys think of this drum set down in the comments below. Also, let me know, do you like the look? Do you hate it, or do you love it? Let me know down in the comments below. See you guys in a few.